In the heart of a small, forgotten town nestled deep within the dense, decaying woods, there lay an ancient pond. For years, the townsfolk had avoided it, believing it to be cursed or haunted. Legends whispered through the generations spoke of a malevolent force lurking beneath the murky waters, an entity that slumbered for centuries, waiting for the opportune moment to rise again. As the town's youth gathered around the flickering campfire one moonlit night, the air was thick with a sense of impending doom. The elders had long warned against venturing near the pond, but curiosity and the allure of the unknown had always been irresistible. A group of friends, led by a bold and reckless teenager named Jake, decided to explore the pond's secrets. They approached the water's edge, the eerie glow of the moon casting an ethereal light upon the stagnant surface. The pond seemed almost sentient, as if it held the memories of the ancient horrors it had witnessed. The air grew colder, and a chilling wind whispered through the surrounding trees, carrying with it a foreboding message that only the bravest could perceive. As Jake dipped his hand into the pond, a strange energy pulsed through the water, sending shivers down his spine. Unbeknownst to the group, the ancient force had been awakened, its slumber disturbed by the audacity of these intruders. An invisible tension gripped the air, and the forest fell silent, as if nature itself held its breath, anticipating the imminent terror about to unfold. Suddenly, the water began to churn and bubble, a dark, viscous substance rising from the depths. It clung to the surface like an oily shadow, forming grotesque shapes that twisted and contorted in the moonlight. The friends recoiled in horror, but it was too late. The ancient force had taken hold of them, ensnaring their minds in a nightmarish dance of despair. As the malevolent presence manifested, it adopted the forms of their deepest fears, exploiting their vulnerabilities. The woods echoed with anguished cries as each friend faced their own personalized horrors. Shadows danced among the trees, morphing into grotesque figures that mirrored the darkest corners of their minds. The group, once united by friendship, now found themselves isolated in a nightmarish landscape. One by one, they succumbed to the insidious influence of the ancient force. As the terror reached its zenith, the pond seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, absorbing the essence of their fear and despair. The next morning, the townsfolk awoke to an eerie stillness that hung over the woods. The once vibrant sounds of nature had been replaced by an oppressive silence. As they approached the pond, a sense of dread settled upon the air. The water, now calm and undisturbed, reflected the pallid faces of those who dared to gaze into its depths. The legend of the ancient pond had become a reality, and the town was forever changed. Whispers of the horrifying events that transpired that night echoed through the generations, serving as a chilling reminder that some secrets were better left buried in the shadows of the past. The pond, having once again claimed its victims, returned to its dormant state, patiently awaiting the next curious souls who would awaken the ancient force that lurked beneath its surface. Over the years, the once thriving town gradually succumbed to a haunting melancholy. The shadows that danced among the trees lingered, casting an ominous pall over every corner. The pond became a place of dread, its presence tainting the air with an otherworldly malevolence. People avoided the woods, fearing the echoes of tormented souls trapped within the ancient force's grasp. Strange occurrences plagued the town. Unexplained whispers echoed through the empty streets at night, and a ghostly mist slithered through the alleys, shrouding everything it touched in an ethereal glow. Some claimed to have seen apparitions, twisted reflections of the friends who had dared to disturb the ancient pond. The once closed community began to unravel as paranoia seeped into every interaction. Families kept to themselves, barricading their homes against the encroaching darkness. The townsfolk couldn't escape the feeling that the ancient force, having tasted the fear and despair of the youth, hungered for more. As the years passed, a group of paranormal investigators arrived in the desolate town, drawn by the unsettling tales that had spread far and wide. Intrigued by the mystery of the ancient pond, they delved into the history and the chilling events that had unfolded. Armed with an array of high-tech equipment, the investigators ventured into the ominous woods, guided only by the flickering light of their flashlights. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, and the oppressive silence seemed to suffocate even the bravest among them. As they approached the pond, the water mirrored the investigators' faces, twisted with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The investigators set up their equipment, determined to unravel the enigma that gripped the town. Suddenly, the air grew colder, and an otherworldly whisper echoed through the trees. The ancient force, disturbed once again, began to weave its insidious web around the newcomers. Strange apparitions materialized, flickering between the investigators and the twisted reflections of the friends who had met their demise years ago. The investigators, fueled by skepticism and scientific curiosity, felt their resolve waver as the malevolent force tapped into their deepest fears. As the night wore on, the investigators faced the same personalized horrors that had befallen the group of friends. The woods echoed with their cries, now joining the chorus of tormented souls that lingered within the ancient force's grasp. In the aftermath, the investigators fled the haunted town, their once unshakable belief in the rational shattered by the supernatural horrors they had witnessed. The ancient pond, having claimed a new set of victims, returned to its quiet slumber, leaving the town in an even deeper state of desolation. The legend of the ancient pond endured, passed down through whispers and fearful glances. The town, forever cursed by the malevolent force that had risen from the depths, became a ghostly reminder that some horrors were not meant to be uncovered. The pond, now a symbol of unspeakable darkness, waited patiently for the next curious souls who would inevitably be drawn to its ancient, accursed waters. Years turned into decades, and the haunted town faded from the maps, forgotten by the world outside. The ominous woods encroached upon the deserted streets, nature reclaiming what had been lost to a malevolent force. The pond, now overgrown with tangled vegetation, retained an air of sinister mystique. In the years that followed, whispers of the cursed town and its ancient pond reached the ears of a group of thrill-seekers who reveled in the macabre. Intrigued by the tales of paranormal activity and the lingering spirits, they saw an opportunity for a chilling adventure. Undeterred by the warnings and unaware of the tragic history, they embarked on a journey to explore the forgotten town that time seemed to have abandoned. As the group of thrill-seekers ventured into the heart of the woods, the air grew heavy with the weight of the past. Unseen eyes watched their every move, and the ghostly mist slithered through the trees, foretelling the ominous presence that awaited them. The town, now a dilapidated and decaying relic, stood as a silent testament to the horrors that had unfolded. The thrill-seekers, armed with cameras and a hunger for the supernatural, approached the ancient pond with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The water, reflecting the moonlight like liquid silver, seemed to hold secrets that beckoned to be unraveled. As they set up their equipment and prepared to capture evidence of the paranormal, the atmosphere became charged with an otherworldly energy. The temperature dropped, and an eerie quiet settled over the surroundings. The ancient force, awakened once more by the intrusion, began to manifest itself in the shadows cast by the gnarled branches. Suddenly, the ghostly mist materialized into ethereal forms, and the spirits of those who had met their demise in the past converged upon the unsuspecting thrill-seekers. Whispers of despair echoed through the desolate streets, and the apparitions took on grotesque shapes, mirroring the fears of the intruders. The group, now caught in the grasp of the malevolent force, faced their own personalized nightmares. The woods, once again alive with the tormented cries of those ensnared by the ancient pond, bore witness to a new chapter of horror. The legends of the town and its cursed pond continued to grow, perpetuated by the thrill-seekers who had ventured where others feared to tread. The ancient force, having claimed yet another set of victims, returned to its slumber, leaving the town in an eerie stillness once more. As the years rolled on, the haunted town and its ancient pond became the stuff of regional legends, a cautionary tale passed down through generations. The woods, now a forbidden realm, stood as a reminder that some mysteries were better left unsolved, and some places were not meant to be disturbed. The pond, encased in its thicket of overgrown vegetation, awaited the next curious souls who might be drawn to its dark depths, perpetuating the cycle of horror for generations to come.
Like, subscribe, and click on notifications that will allow you to stay up to date with the news and not miss videos from the channel, where there will be many more horror stories.